What happens when you train somebody to kill and to overcome and to accomplish missions? I can recall back in 1996 attending the U.S. Army Infantry School in Fort Benning, and it was very clear that I was, as an infantryman, expendable, and that the mission was more important than any individual a part of that unit. Um, the idea, the concepts, and the expectation of accomplishments. I'm still kind of touching on things with reference to not only my brother, but all my brothers and sisters that have served in the military and have not been deprogrammed. And either, you know, I don't personally believe in deprogramming, but I do believe that there's a way of um, bringing it down, reducing the amount of noise when it comes to the things that we were trained to do and things that we did in the name of our country, in the service of our nation. And so, what I'm talking about is you take somebody, you run them through all this training, fix bayonets, learn to kill, slash, terminate people in the name of your country. You get all this advanced stuff, and then all of a sudden, days after you're in the war zone, the rules of engagement, the ROE, is bullshit most times. It's not consistent with what's really going on in war. And war is a mixture of governments in disagreement to a point where they're using offensive methods in order to win a decision, and also a mixture of people that are displaced politically and ideologically in this mess and have no true representation of, their rights or help. And so, I actually offer a big apology to the people of Iraq, because everybody talks about us as Americans freeing Iraq. Yeah, some Iraqis were freed, but not all of them. You have the Kurdish, you have a lot of people out there in Iraq that probably got it worse after the U.S. invaded. Iraq wasn't necessarily a bad place. It's funny because I made a statement one time years ago to a friend or somebody I was doing business with, and I talked about Chirac, and I said Chicago's starting to become Iraq. And he corrected me. He lived in Iraq, and he said before the war, Iraq was a very beautiful place. Baghdad was a very beautiful place. And so we allow our country, allow politicians to help demonize and target these people. We kill these people, and we accomplish these missions, and we come home only to end up in a county jail or facing some type of criminal indictment for the behaviors that were condoned and expected of us as infantrymen, as special operators, as combatants in the name of our country. It doesn't mean, and I keep saying that we don't expect crime or criminality to be condoned by our society. But where do you draw the line when you have somebody that you're telling kill, kill, kill? And I'm talking about especially this current president right now. Everything's kill and accomplish and this and that. But what happens when these individuals, these young people, their minds were molded around these objectives, are sent back home after the war is over, and now they're not only facing the war or the scars of the war they were involved with, but a new war. Now they're fighting a new war. They're fighting a war of thought processes and sensitivity. Like me, I learned really quick after going from the infantry to military police. I made a lot of mistakes, And my infantry hula mentality in the army was not acceptable in the military police. It wasn't. And you know, and I've been through both boot camps, infantry school and then later military police school, and I can tell you that the thought process and expectations of an infantryman are nothing close to um or not similar to that of the military police. And that I can remember, I would say in those days that the military people going through military police school were not as strong as or had the same um, thread of structure of a personality as it equals an infantryman or somebody who is in combat arms. It's just a whole different thing, a mindset, and it stems across the whole chain of command of the training of those individuals. It's unfortunate, and maybe that's why later on after the fact I joined the Marine Corps out of curiosity, because this every Marine's an infantryman first idea was worth trying to understand, even though you could see that it's the same thing. Yes, the infantry, everything is not the infantry, even in the Marine Corps. Um, Infantrymen are infantrymen, and you can't be last minute infantryman. It's something you build up to, and so, like I said, not every job specialty in the military is focused on just killing and accomplishing the killing. So, what do we do with these people? Do we just discard them? We put them in county jails and prisons. We just walk away from them because they encounter, like recently. I don't know if you're following the news, but in Lawton, Oklahoma, that's right outside Fort Sill, Oklahoma, there was an incident. Two young police officers encountered a passenger of a vehicle who was a sergeant in the army, and he stood his ground, and they arrested him for it. And then they were found to be an unlawful arrest. Why? Because of the way they did it, not because of what they did. And a lot of people don't understand. You're a police officer. There's certain things you can do for officer safety, and another thing is to identify or understand, if there's a crime occurring. But once you find yourself in a situation where there is no probable cause and there's no reason, then you leave that person alone. Well, these two young police officers came in contact with, obviously, it looked like a combat veteran sergeant in the army that knew his rights and was not willing to relinquish them to the police. Why? Because that's what the army builds. The army builds warriors. The army builds leaders, winners, not somebody that's just gonna, release or be compliant with something that they know is unlawful. And so these are the things we have to think about. This individual finds himself getting locked up for a few hours. Why? Because he challenged them. And I was reading something even in my brother's record jacket, and he got arrested for resisting arrest. How the fuck do you get arrested for resisting arrest? If that's the only charge, too. There's no, it's supposedly, so resisting arrest is a secondary charge, right? But around the country, the most common charges, especially when police encounter military veterans, is impeding, obstructing, and resisting arrest. You can't be impeding if you just don't want to participate. It's on them. Obstructing is like they're saying, well, you're obstructing because you're not helping us perform the investigation. That's not obstruction. That's just not fucking playing along with the bullshit. And then resisting arrest is when, at least how it's being seen, like in this instance in Lawton, Oklahoma is a good example, is something as simple as not agreeing with being placed in arrest for obstructing or impeding when you know that you didn't do any of that. And military veterans are going to stand up. They're going to tell the police, "No, you can't do this." Police are like, "How dare you? I'm the police. I can do whatever I want to do." And that's why there's a problem. That's why there's an issue. So you're going to send these winners, these high performers from the battlefield to these communities, to these cities, towns, states, and they're gonna stand up for themselves, and they're gonna stand up for other people as well. And you're gonna expose them to other people that have been literally violating the Constitution and other people's rights forever until they've come across this hurdle, which is the military veteran. Is and I'm gonna focus a lot more on those combat killers out there. And I say combat killers because that's what they're trained to do. They're trained to go and kill the enemy, the people that are trying to kill you, the people that are trying to burn your house down and jihad and all this other stupid crap. Our people. And so, what do you do about that? I don't know. I would even, this question goes to the judges that make decisions in these cases, prosecutors that prosecute against military veterans, and defenders, public defenders at that, that really have no context or understanding how to defend these cases. Um, it's mesmerizing to say the least. And for some reason, I keep cycling back to the movie Rambo: First Blood, because what things I didn't know, folks, is that Rambo: First Blood was based on a true story, or a true person, true character, not necessarily a story, but a character named Audie Murphy, who was a patriot, and one of the examples of leadership for the U.S. Army, and maybe most of the military for non-commissioned officers, for NCOs. And his struggles with PTSD and all, I guess they called it something else like shell shock or other things. They had other terms, but this guy was a true successful leader, and he dealt with those things, and may have encountered local law enforcement and had these issues. The difference between local law enforcement during Audie Murphy's days is and today is that, believe it or not all local and federal law enforcement are military veterans anymore. Where during Audie Murphy's days, probably more than 80% of law enforcement had served not only in the military, but during time of war. They are all experienced and seasoned veterans. And that speaks a lot because they've seen it. They've seen how bad things can get. Um, I when I was a police officer and a police supervisor, had police officers that worked for me and or worked on my team that were liars. They lied about the fact that they were military veterans, and they lied about a lot of things. And I would notice, I was kind of, see the ones that were actually real military veterans with combat experience, never brought those things up as far as it being something to wear like a badge of honor. It's, hey, you served, and they explain maybe a few things that they remembered that they enjoyed or didn't enjoy, and they keep it at that. The ones that were not military veterans and were lying about being military veterans, you could see how fake they were and how they didn't have a backbone. And those are the guys, that I hate to say it like this, but they had integrity issues across the board. They weren't able to keep a marriage or maintain a healthy relationship, because not only were they lying at work, they were also lying at home, and being untruthful to their partners and their family members. I'll tell you this much: I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but not one mistake I've made in my life I couldn't tell my children or my wife. You face the music, and that's what military combat killer veterans do. We face the music. We tell the truth, even if the truth hurts. And it's because we know that any day, any minute, our life can change to a point where we may not ever see them again. And that's the difference between military veterans and other people. And so I'm speaking this out because I'm talking to you guys and I'm saying, look, you got folks, you have a lot of military veterans out there, too many of them that are dealing with this, and people don't like them or they don't get along with them. But you know why you don't get along with them? Because you're more likely lying or lying about your life or not happy with your life, and you have somebody around you that is goal oriented, focused on accomplishment, and understands the consequences of actions, and is willing to put the good and the bad out there on the table and let it be judged versus hiding it and then letting it turn into something it doesn't need to be. Um, like my brother's a good example. He's right now in jail, in a county jail, pretty much fighting for his freedom. Why? Because of the system, because false accusations, because women in today's age can say that they were abused or raped or whatever, and it not necessarily be true, but you're still being convicted of it. And then after you've been found innocent, your life is still fucked. And this happens a lot more with military veterans because when we know we didn't do something wrong, of course, we're going to become very anxious and very defensive. And we are going to do whatever we can to retain our freedom and to accomplish our goals. For my brother, his goals is just to protect his two young boys. He's got a lot of children, I can say that, from multiple failed relationships, but his two young boys are his life. And when I talked to him on the phone and interacted with him, that's all he talked about. He didn't talk about anything unpleasant. We didn't talk about his time in Iraq or in combat. In fact, his mood changes when I discuss some of my experiences and how my outlooks are, because he suppresses probably a lot of those things, just not to kill the mood for himself. Um, I don't know what to tell you. It's worth having really good, difficult conversations about. Don't If you're a woman and you're taking offense about the fake rape stuff, it is what it is. It's happening. It just happened with this candidate for governor for California. We don't know. More than likely, he didn't rape anybody or sexually assault or do anything. But that's the leverage. Oh well, he touched my pussy. Well, you know what? Donald Trump bragged about grabbing pussies, and he's the president. I don't think that what he did or said is appropriate, but for somebody just to make an accusation that's unfounded, not properly investigated, and then it hit social media to a point it ruins that person's life, and you're finding him guilty before being proven innocent is shitty. It's garbage. And like I said, this happens a lot more to military veterans, to combat veterans. That is the ticket. Just call the police, say that person assaulted you, say that they're a combat veteran and they have mental health issues, and the police will lock them up. And they will throw the key away because they don't know how to interact with them. They're not willing to have a conversation with them. Mental health people as well, psychologists and all that crap. I've had them come to me when I was a police officer and they wanted me to arrest somebody who they thought was suicidal. And all they just needed was somebody to fucking talk to. They just needed somebody to talk to because they're lonely, bad things were happening in their life, and they couldn't make sense of it. It was almost like some of those veterans, when I spoke with them and denied making an arrest for suicidal ideation, I sat with them spiritually in a foxhole with them, and we shared literally our MRE and discussed what was really going on. And I calmed those people down. Why? Because I understand what you're going through. We get it. Okay? Life's shitty. And then after you get back to this country and you think that you have leveraged or get an opportunity where you can build up and do something for yourself, you're constantly getting shitted on by not only the justice system, but the legal system. A fellow 11 Bravo corrected me, and he's correct. Not only the justice system, but the legal system is shitting on these guys. and they get to the point where they're not functioning. You're literally disabling the best of the best. My thoughts. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Walking in the new dawn now.
After decades spent in shadow, finally seeing the light. Your word is a lamp to my feet, guiding every single night. I am the light of the world, a promise shining bright. Through faith we're all connected, a truly beautiful sight. No walls can ever hold us, we're sons and daughters of the light. Walking out together,
Reuniting in the light.